Segmentum Solar, the cradle of mankind. Here is Terra, known to antiquity as Earth, the heart of the Imperium of Man.
The Imperium of Man. A million worlds scattered across an uncaring galaxy. A million worlds forever under threat from the machinations of cursed traitors and perfidious Xenos. It is an empire consumed by war, by the very battle for survival itself, for there is no peace amongst the stars. 10,000 years have passed since the galaxy burned in the fires of the Horus Heresy. 10 millennia since the greatest of the Emperor's Primarchs fell into the grasp of eternal damnation and tore the galaxy asunder. Horus Lupercal may be dead, his body ashes, and his memory the stuff of a cursed legend, but the wounds he wrought yet gape in the hide of an embattled Imperium. For the battle against Chaos knows no end. Many of Horus' servants survived the civil wars, and they have not forgotten their defeat. When the War Master fell, they retreated to the Eye of Terror and waged battle anew. Greatest of these was Abaddon the Despoiler, Horus' greatest living heir. Abaddon took the title of War Master for his own, and embarked upon a long and bloody campaign to succeed where his fallen master had failed. 12 Black Crusades he launched against the Imperium of Man. 12 world-shattering campaigns to forever alter the balance of power.
Mankind languishes in a tumultuous galaxy. Its potential shackled by a corpse on a gilded throne. We must look to the past for our salvation. To the primal gods who shape all that is. Let there be war upon this false Imperium. Let the galaxy burn.
With a shriek that echoed through nightmares from Medusa to Ultramar, the Black Fleet slipped its moorings. An endless tide of heretics, traitors, demons, and madmen, whose desperate fealty was given over to a single damned soul. Abaddon the Despoiler, inheritor of the arch-traitor Horus's reviled legacy. For 10,000 years, the Eye of Terror has spewed its ageless horrors into the galaxy, gnawing at the eternal glories of the Imperium, at the very soul of mankind itself. And for every one of those 10,000 years, the fortress world of Cadia has held the gate closed. An adamantium bastion, granted strength by flesh and bone, and seeded purpose by faith in the Emperor's holy light.
Cadia, the war world, proud, defiant, unbroken. Since the scouring, it has stood alone, a jewel in the unquiet night, a fortress beyond reckoning, a bastion against the armies of the damned. Cadia marks the boundary where reality and unreality meet. It is the sentinel at the edge of the Eye of Terror, standing guard against those tainted tides. 500 generations of the Imperium's most loyal defenders lie here, their graves forming a monument to their invincible homeworld. Only distant Terra, the throne world itself, is protected with greater ferocity and purer faith. It is a world on the very shores of hell.
Warriors of mankind, the Emperor has tested us, and we have not been found wanting. By his will and our faithfulness, we have journeyed through darkness, through fire, and now emerge into the brilliant light of a new dawn. But that light shines only so long as we keep it fed. Through our sacrifice, through the valor of the Imperial Navy, mankind shall endure. There is no peace in these stars, only a crucible of war in which our faith is forever tested. Our service we owe to our comrades. Our lives we spend for the Imperium. And our souls, now and forevermore, belong to the Emperor.
The Space Marines, genetically modified warriors who know no fear, spearhead every counter-assault, taking the battle to the heart of the foe.
They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give themselves to me. Like clay, I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war forge them. They will be of iron will and steely muscle. In great armor shall I clad them, and with the mightiest guns will they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease. No sickness will blight them. They will have tactics, strategies, and machines, such that no foe can best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are the defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear.
We are the Emperor's finest. Faith is our shield. Hate is our weapon. We shall know no fear.
Brother Captain, it is time.
We are the Adeptus Astartes.
We are the angels of death. Our war is endless. Our crusade is eternal.
From the smoke-wreathed horror of Adeptus Mechanicus Forge Worlds sail warships of fearsome potency, their weapons blessed by the machine god, and their crews dedicated to the Omnissire's holy cause.
From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. I craved the strength and certainty of steel. I aspired to the purity of the blessed machine. Your kind cling to your flesh, as if it will not decay and fail you. One day the crude biomass that you call the temple will wither, and you will beg my kind to save you. But I am already saved. For the machine is immortal.
The Scholar Progenium molds callow flesh into leaders, officers of the Imperial Navy, the greatest fleet ever to span the stars. These heroes dedicate their life to the Imperium's defense, confronting the ceaseless threat of chaos wherever it manifests. The war against the dark gods and their worshippers is the eternal battle for the soul of mankind, for the future of the galaxy itself. It is the forge upon which true heroes are struck and legends tempered. The Eidolon sector lies at the heart of the Eye of Terror, at the point where reality bleeds away into the formless tides of the Immaterium. Stronghold of the Despoiler, headwater of every Black Crusade, there is no mortal law here that is not imposed by cruelty, and no physical law beyond the whim of the Dark Gods. The Plague Planet, home of Mortarion and his Death Guard Traitor Legion. This is a world of 10,000 contagions, where skies weep with pus, and seas teem with disease. Sortiaris is the current homeworld of the Thousand Suns Traitor Legion. Ringed by the screaming souls of the betrayed dead and blasted by the tides of the warp. It is a planet no sane man would tread without cause, or at least without a numberless army at his back. Oliensis, throne of decadence, and bane of many a righteous soul. The world is a living perversion, a deathless monument to the pursuit of pleasure above all else. Though the world's origins are argued over by the Adepts of Terror, it is known that at least one Space Marine chapter met its demise on the Oliensis surface. Reports suggest that those who fall to Oliensis' embrace are reborn as blasphemous mirrors of their prior selves, shackled to the will of Slaanesh. Drukhari, Khorne's slaughter pit. Only the strongest survive the crucible of its arenas, and then only until the favor of the gods turns against them once more. Eidolon itself was once an Eldari world, but now lies shackled by the madness of chaos, with an empire dedicated to each of the chaos powers constantly vying with the others for dominance. It is said that there are more ways to die on Eidolon than anywhere else. Though as no one ever returns, this can be considered little more than rumor.
They say that to be an agent of the Imperial Inquisition is to see the true horror of the universe and still have the will to prevail. As with all things, there is another face to the truth. I have looked on the terrors of the universe and cast them down. I have judged billions and forgiven some. I have known victory and touched defeat. And the lesson that all my years as an Inquisitor have taught me is that it is not enough to prevail. We have to endure the poison of history. We have to survive our own sins.
Inquisitor, with all respect, is Exterminatus the only solution?
Admiral Spire, it is said that heresy is like a tree. Its roots lie in darkness, while its leaves wave in the sun. You can prune away its branches, even cut the tree to the ground, but it will grow again, ever stronger. Such is the nature of heresy, and why it is so difficult to destroy. Some may question my right to destroy a world of 10 billion souls. But those who truly understand realize that I have no right to let them live. No sacrifice is too great. No treachery too small.
In the darkness between the stars, the weak and the faithless find no deliverance. We are raised to believe that the God Emperor watches over us all. And so we are charged to cleanse the mutant, the heretic, the alien. We must not falter. We are his sword. We are his wrath. even in the face of death. We shall not submit. Suffering is our prayer. Faith is our armor. In battle, he offers us redemption. And for those who prove worthy, the Emperor sends forth his angels.
Our Imperium is besieged. Across 1,000 worlds, we fight for our survival. Those that would tear humanity down are legion. Our forces are few. Our enemies many. There is no respite. There is no mercy. And in our darkest hour, a spiteful universe awakens forgotten evils to break us. The galaxy burns, yet still we stand, the last bulwark against the terror. And while we draw breath, we will fight. For in this new dark age, there is only war.
In the deepest eons of history, before mankind had even emerged from primordial ooze, the Necrontyr dominated the galaxy. But unity receded, even as the bounds of their domain expanded. Fearing the collapse of their civilization, the leaders of the Necrontyr assailed the Old Ones, seeking to wrest from them the secret of eternal life. The galaxy blazed with the fires of war. Too late, the Necrontyr realized the impossibility of victory. Thus they embraced damnation. The Star Gods, the C'tan, walked amongst them, offering prized immortality and long-sought victory. So ended the Necrontyr of old. Betrayed by the ambition of Zarek, the Silent King, they were dragged in chains to the fires of biotransference, transmuted from fragile and radiation-cursed bodies to forms more suited for the ravages of war. Stripped of flesh, of mortality, even of their souls, the Necrontyr passed from history. Only the Necrons remained. Now enslaved to the will of the C'tan, the Necrons at last altered the course of the war. Cosmic battle lines buckled and at last broke beneath a tide of immortal fury. As the last of the Old Ones fell, Zarek led what remained of his people in revolt against their C'tan masters. The Star Gods were overthrown, shattered into shards, and forced to serve those they had once ruled. But centuries of war had taken their toll on both the Necrons and the galaxy. To preserve what remained of their empire, the Necrons retreated to colossal stasis tombs, to sleep away millennia while their domain healed and their rivals passed into dust. Freed from the shackles of time, the passing millennia meant nothing to them. 60 million years have passed, and the ancient tombs are once more stirring to life. The Necrons, forgotten by all but the Eldari, are returning to claim what was theirs. They will abide no trespassers. The region of space now known as the Eye of Terror was once home to the Aeldari Empire. A prideful, sensuous people, the Aeldari realized too late the perils of excess. The fourth Chaos god, Slaanesh, was born from their debauchery, its coming heralded by a psychic scream that shook real space to its foundations and devastated the Aeldari. The Crone Worlds are all that remain of the Aeldari's fallen domain. They are blighted planets, consumed by the spreading unreality of the Eye of Terror, and twisted to new and nightmarish realities. Though the Crone Worlds are overrun by the servants of the Dark Gods, the Aeldari have not entirely abandoned them. They cannot, for only here can the treasured Spirit Stones be harvested, and thus the souls of the dying be saved from thirsting Slaanesh. Such expeditions are fraught with peril, for there are few more dangerous places amongst the stars. Many who seek the Crone Worlds do not return. The Aeldari have never recovered from the horrors of the Fall. They are a fractured, dwindling population on the brink of extinction. Most dwell aboard star-treading craft worlds, honing their peerless minds along the disciplined paths in the hope of staving off the perils of decadence and thus preventing a second, final catastrophe. But not all Aeldari can bear the rigidity of craft world life. Some depart their homes, seeking adventure amongst the stars as Corsairs. Such lives are fraught with danger, but are also rich with excitement. These outcasts can be found in every corner of the galaxy, blazing a brief but exhilarating trail before madness claims them. The Drukhari too live outside the structures of the Aeldari path. Corrupt and cruel, they keep Slaanesh at bay, not with discipline and spirit stones, but by feasting on the torment of others. Raiders and slavers all, the Drukhari are a blight upon the galaxy, as selfish as they are sadistic, as untrustworthy as they are cunning. Orks are amongst the deadliest of the Xenos races. Multitudinous, belligerent, and possessed of brutal cunning, they spread across the stars like a green tide. Even in the war-riven sectors around the Eye of Terror, forever beset by chaos, they rank amongst the greatest threats. As battle raged between the Imperium and the dread forces of chaos, the Orks gained a foothold upon ravaged worlds, using them as staging areas from which they could slingshot deeper into Imperial territory. Ork technology is ramshackle, but terrifyingly effective, combining mismatched components, scavenged gear, and intuitive leaps to forge weapon systems whose inner workings baffle the most experienced of the Imperium's adepts, but lack for nothing in sheer, unbridled firepower. In much the same way, an Ork warlord can take a multitude of squabbling clans and forge them into an unstoppable army. Such a war has the sheer, unbridled might necessary to conquer the stars themselves, leaving naught but rubble in its wake. As its momentum grows, so do its numbers grow, swollen by green skins drawn to the promise of bloodlust, teeth, and loot.
The Orks plague the whole galaxy from end to end, with their ceaseless warring and strife. They are a warlike, crude, and highly aggressive green-skinned Xenos race, organized in a primitive and brutal society, rooted so deeply in war that peace is utterly incomprehensible to them. Their ships are often ill-kempt, unreliable rust buckets, kept in operation only by the constant effort of Ork mech boys and their Gretchen slaves. Ork pirate attacks are brutally direct. with their ships rushing headlong towards their target, guns firing wildly as they come. They cannot be bargained with or bought, save with weapons that they will inevitably turn against those who try to bribe them. Orks have a need for speed. Their ships commonly mount a plethora of thrusters, boosters, and extra drives, usually all wired up to a prominent red button in the cockpit. Experience, have I learned that underestimating the greenskins is a fast route to the grave.
We, the men and women of the Astra Militarum, answered the call to battle the greenskin menace. Whoever our foe, we will reclaim this world and its ancient riches, or we will die trying. For mankind, and for the God Emperor.
The only thing that the Imperial ship crews fear even more than traveling in the warp is traveling in the warp while there is a storm raging. The light of the Emperor's Astronomicon can no longer guide the navigators, and entire sectors can be isolated, preventing any help from afar. The chaos, at home in the distortion of reality, becomes an even greater threat. And even the most experienced navigators can only hope for a safe arrival at their destination. O eternal God Emperor, preserve us from the dangers of the void.
The Tyranids, the great devourer. In all the stars, there has never been a Xenos race more inimical to the survival of mankind. Indeed, they are the bane of all other life. Their origins are but poorly understood, the stuff of rumor and supposition and nightmare. The Adepts of Mars believe that a single unknowable consciousness guides the Hive fleets about their voracious purpose. This consciousness knows only unquenchable hunger. Hive ships serve as synapse nodes, spreading the influence of the Tyranid hive mind across the stars. Such is the hive mind's suffocating will that the warp is distorted for light years around. Confusion and terror spread before the hive fleets advance, as dreams darken and madness spreads. As the hive fleets advance, the suffocating embrace quenches the Emperor's light and drowns doomed worlds in psychic shadow. But the greatest threat comes from within. Foul creatures known as Genestealers infiltrate unvigilant worlds. A patriarch arises from the population's subverted flesh and projects a psychic beacon to draw the Hive fleet ever closer. As the Genestealer cult grows in power, they emerge from the shadows of their benighted world. Civil war rages, shaking the planet asunder. Then the skies darken with spores and the Hive fleet's voracious tendrils. The cultists exult at the fulfillment of prophecy and their ascension into the light. Their delusions die with them.
In the sunless body of our Hive, the flock of the faithful grows. We are guided by our great father's sacred vision, protected by his loving hands. Within these holy shadows we dwell, while the impure bathe in spire-top starlight. And what lies between those stars? What sails beyond those distant suns? Shrouded in night, born within that eternal black, our redeemers, our gods, truer than the silent, long-dead emperor. The children of the void. We hear them in our dreams. We feel them in our blood. They call, and we will answer. We will rise and claim the engines of labor that have bound us in servitude. This world will burn. It will be cleansed, purified, made ready, and the heavens will deliver our reward. The final hour approaches. The day of reckoning comes. None shall survive our ascension.
The Hive cities of Necromunda. Untold billions crammed within mountains of metal. Vast insect mounds of tireless industry amid the toxic wastes of their own manufacture. Inside the Hive cities, every breath of air, every drop of water is recycled 1,000,000 times over. Every watt of power and each mouthful of food must be guarded against rival clans and outlaws. It is a place where only the strong can endure, and no one prospers. Except, of course, those at the very top.
I walk through rusted corridors, breathing air recycled 1,000,000 times over. I see a humanity too weak to turn back the madness. This is where I belong. This is my home. My territory. Where the bullet and the knife are kings. Life is cheap. Especially yours. Welcome to the Underhive.
Contact with the latest threat to the Imperium was made here, a star cluster in a distant spiral arm. The race is young, vigorous, and technologically advanced. They call themselves the Town.
After decades of research from the Earthcast's finest minds, we've never been this close. Our Empire's most ambitious military project, the Khorne Initiative, the promise of expanding our borders to new worlds, the confidence of enlightening distant civilizations with our philosophy. Let none doubt that the Tau Empire will bring unity to all. Let none doubt that now is our time.
For the Tau. For the greater good.
Courage and honor. Courage and honor. Courage and honor. I hear you murmur these words in the mist. In their wake, I hear your hearts beat harder with false conviction. Seeking to convince yourselves that a brave death has meaning. There is no courage to be found here, my nephews. No honor to be had. Your souls will join the trillion others in the mist, shrieking uselessly into eternity, weeping for the empire you could not save. To the unfaithful, I bring holy plagues ripe with enlightenment. To the devout, I bring the blessing of immortality through the kiss of sacred rot. And to you, newborn sons of Gilliman, to you, flesh-crafted puppets of a failing Imperium, I bring the holiest gift of all. Silence. The 14th Son, the Death Lord, the Angel of Plagues. Thus I am named by my loyal sons and my host of foes. My plague fleets set sail for the stars, their hulls swollen with divine purity. Hail the god of pestilence! Hail the demonic choirs of the Lord of Decay! Hail the Death Guard Legion and its immortal master! Hail the coming of Nurgle's angel!
Forged from countless ships in the seething forces of warp space, a space hulk has been deposited here by the uncaring tides of the Immaterium. I have dubbed this drifting lair of abominations Olethros.
My name is Jost von Marburg. I serve the Emperor as an Inquisitor of the Ordo Xenos, devoted to the destruction of those species who oppose the rightful domination of mankind over the galaxy. To that end, I have spent decades of my life studying one of the most elusive and mysterious space hulks. The Forsaken Doom, a name spoken in terror by starship crews, the shadow in the night. A myth, a horror, and all too real. Drifting randomly in and out of the warp for millennia, this gargantuan agglomeration of wrecks has been the grave of countless space marines. Ultimately, each chapter's defeat was lost to the ages and forgotten, leaving the Imperium in ignorance. This monstrous conglomeration of wrecked starships adrift in the void for eons. The Great Derelict is a mass of secrets and dangers. And in their vast, echoing chambers lurk swarms of deadly creatures. Torn apart by fire, the Forsaken Doom broke into 1,000,000 pieces. Debris was consumed in the upper atmosphere of Gorgonum, purifying the Xenos threat with cleansing fire. However, with the prodigious burst of energy came a new, brief warp storm which swallowed the largest pieces of the wreckage. Each has been cast out to become the malignant seed of another space hulk. Slowly, they will grow, capturing derelicts and asteroids in the depths of the void. In time, it will only make things worse.
Brothers, retribution is at hand. It is our strength. We are the sons of Caliban. Let fury guide your weapons. Let vengeance be your song. We are the angels of death, and our enemies shall fall!
I ask myself what it means to be one of the Dark Angels. Is it to pursue our quest at any expense, foregoing all other oaths and duties? Is it to lie, to hide and to plot, so that others will not know our shame? Is it to follow the path laid down by the Emperor at the founding of the great Imperium of Man? I ask myself what it means to be one of the Dark Angels. It is to be the honored First Legion, the Emperor's wrath, the Sons of the Lion. Repent, for tomorrow you die!
Heralds of the coming doom, by cry of raven, we are drawn. This oath of war and vengeance, on blade of exalted iron sworn, with blood-anointed swords aloft, advance we into dread's dark shade, punishment divine unleashed with hate, a wrathful storm of bolt and blade, purge with plasma, fist and shell, bring cleansing fire's righteous breath. For the Emperor, Knights of Caliban, the Lion's anointed angels of death!
I'm just walking with a ghost, and it's still walking by my side. My soul is dancing on my chick. I don't know where the exit is.
I have short hair, and I'm faced with a few complications. So if you care, try to analyze that situation. You know, man, as the leaves fall on the ground, my soul is gone and round and round and round. So please do it well. Just break the spell. Why don't you do it right? Don't run another fight. I'm not creating my flow with my ego. I'm taking off my hood and I'm entering deeply in the wood.
Tremble before the majesty of the Emperor, for we all walk in his immortal shadow.